Well, hey everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope everybody's had a great week. I know I'm pumped for tonight, but a little bit of housekeeping before we get into tonight's stuff. So, if you are watching on Instagram, welcome. If you're watching on Facebook, welcome. So, we will have a guest coming on in just a minute, but we do have any of the past episodes. You can actually go to the Instagram page and check those out. There's a lot of the older ones as well from some people that I literally had in the house at the Sustain Life. On thesustainlife.com. If you want to go to the website and check out some of those things, you can do that as well. If you go to the website, you can grab a copy of the book. There's one-on-one coaching, a lot of different things like that, so you can go browse around. And I always enjoy the input, the things that people say and the feedback that I get from the website, from the book if you choose to read it, whatever it is. And also, if you want to like and share this, whatever platform that you're viewing on, it is much appreciated because I know my man Alika Gamble is going to come with the heat tonight. I'm pumped. So he is out in California, so it is still sunshine where he is now. It is about 3 or so p.m., but we're going to patch him through and we're going to hear a little bit about his story, how he's got into recovery, a little bit about his recovery story, and just some awesome wisdom and some good nuggets that you're not going to want to miss. And the whole thing that we're trying to do here is just inspire hope and educate people as it pertains to issues around addiction and mental health. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll see if we can get him in here, but y'all hold on because he should be coming in soon enough. But I'm excited to have him on.
Hey! What's up, Jacob? How's it going?
Good, dude. How are you?
All right, I'm doing good.
And
Yeah,
it's still
it's
sunny
nice and
where
sunny.
you are?
What's that?
It's still sunny where you are?
Yeah, it is. The sun is
How's
shining.
how's the weather in California right now?
It's well, last week was a little cold, honestly, but I mean it's
And what
pretty
is a little
warm.
cold in California?
Yeah, yeah.
What
It's
is
been
what is
pretty
that
warm.
like? What?
Well, the temperature, like I haven't been out today, but it's been sunny all day. But
It's
I know that
California.
winter's fast approaching, because like the number of COVID, like it went up, so we're trying to stay confined to
Yeah.
our home, for now,
Yeah.
because they have the curfew again to here in California. So
Man.
I think that's a good idea, to play it safe for
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, man. Well, cool, dude. We're certainly happy to have you on, man. I appreciate you taking a little time out and coming and joining us. I know a lot of people are excited to hear what you got to say. I'm pumped to hear what you got to hear what you have to say. And I've been actually watching some of the stuff. I know I was catching up with you before the live stream,
Yeah.
and some of the things you're doing, like the marriage stuff and
Mhm.
things that I almost want to have you on like my main normal Instagram page and talk about some of that stuff. But here we're
Yeah.
going to talk about addiction. We're going to share some hope, share some testimonies. So as we start off, why don't you just share a little bit about yourself, maybe a little bit about your story and kind of how you came into a life of recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, Jacob, hey, thank you so much, man, for asking me to come on. I really appreciate it. Originally though, I'm born and raised in Hawaii. I'm from a little town called Waimea. I'm actually representing it right now. That's what
Come on.
that's what the license plates look like in Hawaii. Yeah,
Yeah, I
representing the
love
96743. That's my zip code.
it.
But it's a little town. Like you blink your eyes, boom, you miss the whole town. And I
Yeah,
was born and raised there on the Big Island of Hawaii. Um, and I don't have an excuse, honestly, for why I started drinking and using. And I had a very good childhood. Had a lot of love, a lot of in Hawaii we're very family oriented. We talked earlier. You said you've been to Hawaii, so I'm sure you noticed the
yeah,
people there were a lot different than the people pretty much anywhere on the planet. Really,
yeah. It's
because
unique,
I've
definitely.
traveled, around the world, and I'm not being biased because I'm from Hawaii, but it's different. The people there is different. I remember my first trip. I was like maybe 20 or 21, first time I ever left Hawaii. I came to California, and the very first thing I noticed that was different was the people. And like at the airport, it's like I was like, why is nobody smiling? Like, what's going on? People just walk past you, they don't say hi. Like the only place I saw happy people was at Disneyland. I was like,
Yeah,
oh, okay.
everybody's happy at Disneyland though.
Yeah, yeah. So but anyways, so yeah, I was born and raised there. We got that aloha spirit, we call it, in Hawaii. And I had a really great childhood, a really great childhood. At 15 years old, I became a Christian. I accepted Jesus into my life. And but before that, I started to drinking alcohol. When I was 13 years old, I started to drink. And then at 15 years old, I started to use drugs. And cocaine was my drug of choice. And it just really it progressed. But what's I want to make mention of was my life was, I mean, I was a teenager, my life was easy regardless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as soon as like I accepted Jesus into my life, it's like I went from the red jersey to the blue jersey. Now the red team is trying to kill me all of a sudden. It's like they're not my friends no more. And honestly, I was a very lukewarm Christian. I wasn't. I would go to God when I needed Him. You know what I mean? I always say, God, He was always in my life, but I wasn't always in His life. He never walked away from me. I walked away from Him. And then my addiction, it just started to progress. Like it didn't for me personally, I wasn't like, okay, the first time I did it, I was addicted. I have a lot of friends that was like that. That really wasn't my case. For me, a lot of people, they don't know this about me, but naturally I'm an introvert. But it's hard for them to believe that when they meet me today. But I was, and like naturally that's how I am. Like I would kind of rather be alone and isolate, and this disease of addiction loves to isolate us from everyone and everything. I spent a lot of like hours and days in my bathroom, just getting high by myself. And so I continue to go on, in my teens. And it was manageable. It was manageable for me. And then I started to get into my 20s. It started to get worse. And then mid 20s, late 20s, and early 30s, it was just totally unmanageable. I could not manage my life at all. The hopelessness and the helplessness of my situation was just astonishing. And how I got sober was in a 12-step program. And I learned a lot of different things, especially about myself. I was like, well, like vodka and cocaine is definitely my problem. Definitely, that's what I thought. But when I come to find out was that actually I was the problem. It's the way that I think. I was the problem. The drinking, the drugs, it was just a symptom of my problem. That's all it was. Oh yeah, now that I'm thinking about this, so I'm gonna share this. So there was I responded to somebody's question through a video that I posted a while ago. Because somebody, basically they're like, well, okay, so you're a Christian, like your life's supposed to be so great and so easy and so, you can just stroll through life with no worries. So it's like the question was, how can you be a Christian, but then, oh yeah, but you're addicted to drugs and alcohol? Like, how does that work? And that's a very good question. See, what this person was trying to do was trying to kind of get me stuck. Like, see, Jesus don't work. That's why. See, that's the point they're trying to make to me. Like, and they didn't think I really knew that. But the Holy Spirit will guide me, and He guided me through this answer as well. So my answer to that question really was, as a Christian, growing and learning and developing my relationship with God. I have a relationship with God today through His Son that He sent. And out of all the other religions on the whole world known to mankind, nobody ever, it's not written anywhere where somebody said, I am the truth, the way, and the life. I am you only get to the Father through me. That's it. Jesus was the only one to make that claim. No other person, thing, religion, whatever, ever made that claim. So I was like, okay, growing in my relationship with God, becoming a Christian, and started to learn. My dad really helped me out a lot when I was younger. And then all these things that I've learned, I never applied active in my addiction. I never did. I knew of them, but I just like, I don't want to do that. I want to do things my way. So my answer was kind of lengthy, though. I'll try to do my best to give you get right to the point.
Yeah.
So what I learned is that in the Bible, in Romans 12:2, we are instructed to renew our minds and not conform to the patterns of this world. So what happened for me is I failed to do that. Now, when I said yes to Jesus, my spirit was instantly saved. However, my mind was not saved. And although what I learned is that the Holy Spirit is my guide, he knows everything about me. Jesus or God, he'll tuck things away in our spirit because the enemy can read our minds, but he cannot read our spirit. So that's why I heavily depend on the Holy Spirit to guide me. So there's a huge problem with that, though. My spirit makes absolutely no decisions. My mind does. And that's why God instructs me to renew it on a daily basis. And honestly, that's what I have been doing since I've been sober. I was getting these instructions since I became a Christian, and I'm good. Nope, I'm good. Okay, I would say yes, and then I would just do things my way. And my way got me into becoming an alcoholic and a drug addict. My way. So I got sober literally doing it somebody else's way because my way wasn't working. God chose to put me into a 12-step program and receive my healing that way. And I am very passionate about this thing. I love recovery. I became a substance abuse counselor last year. And, because again, I don't believe God saved my life for my sake. I learned something from Dr. Miles Monroe. He said, look, if you want to check to see if you're in God's will, check to see if what you're doing only benefits you and your family. If it only benefits you and your family, you are out of God's will. So I remember that. And there is no shortages in the world of people struggling with drug addiction and alcoholism. And every day, man, I just tell God, I'm just your vessel. I'm just use me. I'm willing for him to use me. It's been such an unbelievable journey, of self-discovery, like learning that I was the problem. That one was honestly a hard pill to swallow. It really was. The first few things I learned when I came into the rooms of recovery was that there's 3 things that are essential in order to recover. And those 3 things are honesty, willingness, and open-mindedness. And they're indispensable, meaning they're absolutely necessary in order to recover. And the first one was honesty. So, hands down, this is the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Nothing will ever come close to me versus being like, trying to be honest with myself. Like nothing will come close. That is the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Like nothing will even come close to that. Like and it was because a certain way of thinking started to happen to me and a certain behavior. All these years, chasing the drink, chasing the drug. It was 2 decades. I started at 13. I ended at age 33, and now I'm 37. But it has been such a journey, it's been unbelievable. Some things that I have done in my addiction, it's crazy. So I'll tell you a story. So I was living on Oahu at this time. It was in 2012. That was the worst year of my entire life. That year in 2012, I drank every day and I used drugs every day. I never missed a day. And
Wow.
I was working at a valet. I was working as a valet at this time in Waikiki. And Waikiki is a very busy place. And, I love to party. I love to party. I would work 3 to 11 shift. And then after that, boom, I'll go out to the bars and this and that. And I was girl crazy. I was chasing all these women around and everything. And, I drink so much. I use so much. I cannot go to work the next day. So I like this way of thinking I was talking about starts to develop, and it started already. I'm just fast forwarding the tape. So I was very good at being deception. I was very good liar. So I would I don't want to come to work because it's almost 3 o'clock and I'm partying all the way from the next day. I'm still the party's still going for me, and I don't want to go to work. and I really cannot go to work because I'm driving like very, very expensive cars, you know. So I mean, I ran out of so much excuses already. So, I mean, I had these excuses like I told my boss, well, oh, my son got into a car accident on the Big Island. I gotta fly back home. My mom is in the hospital. You know, I gotta go. I can't come to work. But then I was like out of ideas, and I was thinking, man, what am I gonna say now? So I thought about it. So what I ended up doing to myself was punching myself in the eye as hard as I can, as long as I could, until my eye was literally shut. Then I made up some story of how I got into a fight with my dad, and this is what happened. You know, I take the picture, I send it to him, so okay, he's not lying. You know, I mean, I've done some pretty insane things in my life, but the
Yeah.
most insane thing I've ever done is, in a sober state of mind, I decided to drink and use, knowing exactly what's going to happen. But once you know, it became, it ceased to be a luxury and it became a necessity. Even when I didn't want it, I had to have it. And for me, that was just the worst part of my drug addiction.
Yeah, man. That's good. And I love the when you're talking about honesty and openness and willingness.
Uh-huh.
I was blown away. I really was. Like when, so as a man, I don't know how it was in your family, but in my family, as we were growing up, it's kind of like, you're a man, soldier through your feelings. It wasn't like a big suppression of feelings, like you can't talk about your feelings, but it was just kind of like an unspoken thing where we would, you just kind of soldier through your feelings and do the best you could and suck it up, rub some dirt on it, and
Yeah.
keep on going. And I remember when I got to my second rehab, this happened too in the first one, but the second one was most vivid to me that I had this kind of epiphany. And you talked about these three things being indispensable: honesty, openness, and willingness. And the honesty aspect was shocking to me because I remember sitting in these process groups, like going in, it was my first week, and hearing all these grown men share all these vivid details and just being brutally honest with each other. And I was just like, whoa. And then to see like the lightness and the weights kind of start to drop off of them as they're doing this, and like the freedom that they're experiencing when they're
Yeah.
doing this and sharing this, the things that they've been through and all that stuff in this very vulnerable manner. It was so inspiring to me that I just kind of fell in and started doing the same thing. And being open-minded to doing that, what I found is that being honest took a lot of intentionality on my part
Absolutely.
because I had, for the longest time, like you were talking about, like deception, like deceiving, lying to leave work, all that stuff. It's just a way that I lived my life for the longest time. But that was such a good point to bring up, the honesty, the openness, and the willingness. And I love that, dude. It's good.
Yeah, definitely. Early on too, when I got into the rooms. Oh wait, let me back up. So speaking about honesty, see, like my very first meeting, it was an AA meeting. It was at noon, and I heard these people talking about, you want what we have, do what we do, and so I started to listen, and one of the things they was like a trend and everybody share was, get a sponsor, work the steps. So I was like, okay, okay, okay. So right after my very first meeting ever, this big black guy, he comes, boom, he beelines it right to me, and he shook my hand, introduced himself, and he bought me my big book. It's the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. That's where I went through the steps with my sponsor, and then he's like, here, call this guy, and then that guy became my sponsor. And he's still my sponsor. 4 days later, he became my sponsor. And that man, he knows more about me than any other human being on the planet. And it's not because I'm trying to lie to like my parents or my wife. They just don't want to know. They just, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
Because I met my wife, I was sober already. I just got sober. And I just completed my third step, which is turning my life and my will over to the care of God. Because I was a huge control freak. A lack of power was our dilemma, they say. And
Yeah.
for me, like if I wasn't in control, I was out of control. you know. And uh, my whole life, since, well, not my whole life, since I was 15 years old, I always knew, like, my biggest heart's desire, the whole world, like, people want to be actresses and singers and firefighters and astronauts. My biggest dream in the whole world was to be a husband and a father. That was it. I've known that, like, God planted that seed deep in my heart at a young age. But with the way I was thinking, there was no way God would have allowed that to happen to me. His grace and mercy just followed me, and the prayers, from all my family, honestly, really kept me alive. I shouldn't be here right now. Honestly, I should be in an institution, in a prison, or dead. With the kind of things I've done, I pump my body with so much chemicals and alcohol and drugs and but then I learned, man, there's no chemical solution to a spiritual problem. I was very spiritually sick. And the thing about alcoholics and addicts, like, the majority of people do not know, especially if you never, like, suffered from this disease, is that, we're not bad people trying to get good. We're sick people trying to get well. That's it. That kind of helps the person around the sufferer, kind of help them, but that's a whole nother video we can make, honestly.
Yeah.
But early on in recovery, I learned that there is a difference. There's a difference between sobriety and recovery. I thought it was the same thing. When I came into the rooms, I was looking to get sober. I was looking for sobriety, but then I found recovery. Because again, like, separate me from drugs and alcohol, I'm still a liar. I'm still a cheater. I'm still a manipulator. I still got these certain ways of thinking. I still got this behavior that is unacceptable. So I was like, man, okay. So I learned, and I thank God that I learned that. God put me around. I'm still around these people today. So like He strategically put my sponsor in my life, put certain people in my life to help me. And I learned that, look, all sobriety is really, it's just the last time I took a drug or had a dream. Like, that's it. Like, you separate me from that, I still have the same way of thinking, though. So again, the drinking, the drugs, it was just a symptom of my problem. I really had a thinking problem. Now, recovery is a lot different. And it's a lot more work. The book describes it as strenuous work, because it is. Like, becoming honest with yourself, oh my gosh, bro, that is very hard work for me. That was such hard work. And then I mentioned willingness. So the willingness to do things somebody else's way, the willingness to meet with my sponsor, even though I just got home from work and I'm so tired and, like, I can make all these excuses, but no, I'm willing to do it. I committed to it. Okay, I'm going to do it. Because, sooner or later, when you're brand new, you're desperate and dying, like, you will do anything. But as time goes on, you sooner or later, you start to feel better. And then it just depends, how spiritually fit you are, basically, in my opinion. Whether you're going to actually do the work or not, But anyway, so what I'm recovering from, the book describes it as a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. Because a lot of the things I did was so insane. It was just crazy. Like, I can't, like, all my fingers work. My brain still works. I went to the doctor when I got sober. I don't have AIDS. I don't have no sexually transmitted diseases. I had a pretty good, clean bill of health. The only thing was my blood pressure was a little high. That was it. Despite everything, all the damage I've done to my body, it's just unbelievable. It's just God's grace and mercy has been chasing me down. I remember when I was a little kid, my parents remember this too. I was, I don't know, like 5, and I don't know why I would ask them this, but I'll ask them. Like, I remember specifically the first time we were in the car, we were driving somewhere, and then I asked them, who's Jesus? Just out of the blue, I just asked them, who's Jesus? Like, I don't even know how I heard of Jesus at this time. And I'm like 5 years old. And then at that time, they didn't know. I forgot what they said. But, as an adult, we talked about that before, and they remember that. So recovery versus sobriety. Now, recovery is like my character defects, manipulation, lying, all, because what I learned was, look, we suffer from something that stems from us being selfish and self-centered. The whole world revolves around me. So, recovering from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, it is a process. Like, recovery doesn't happen in a day, it happens daily. It's a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of my spiritual condition. Um, and again, separate me from drugs and alcohol, bro. I'm still the same way. You know, I'm just not drunk or loaded right now. You know, so
Yeah.
it's just changing. Like having this paradigm shift in your in your thinking. You know, because where the mind goes, though, the body's gonna follow. You know, and then like my life really has never been the same ever since. But now, sorry, I'm all over the place. But kind of backing up to when I met my wife. So because I'm a huge control freak, um, that was the first time in my life I've ever really truly surrendered to God and say, okay, God, like, oh, bro, I give up already. Oh, okay, I'm too tired of trying to run the show, really, you know. And I was 33, and I turned my life and my will over to Him, and I'm not kidding. Like, boom, I met my wife, just like that, unbelievable. So she became my girlfriend. I remember. So I'll tell you the story of how we met, actually. I was in financial services. That was my background. I was doing it for about 16 years with my parents. And to this day, we don't know who added who on Instagram. That's how we met each other, technically, on Instagram. Yeah, so thank you, Instagram.
Yeah.
And I started to notice her posts, and it was very similar to the line of work that I was in. And I think she's on here. I can hear her laughing outside. And then so like I wasn't even thinking, yeah, let me try to hook up with this girl or this. No, I wasn't thinking like that at all. I literally was like, man, I gotta start to make some money. And like I've been doing this so long, it's like the only thing I really know how to do. I just gotta transfer my license from Hawaii to California, and that's how we met. And then we exchanged numbers, and I was living in the Inland Empire in Fontana. I was actually in a sober living. I spent 1 year in a sober living, and she lived in LA. So, you know, all the offices in LA, and like, I had no money. I had no house, really. I was in sober living. I had no car. Um, and and then it kind of just like, I don't know what happened. We just kind of disappeared. And then out of the blue, I don't know, a few months later, she texted me, you know, oh, happy Thanksgiving. And that's how everything started. At that time, we started to talk, and we started to talk, you know, at that time. And we started to get to know each other, and you know how it is when you know, you're on the phone for hours, man. You FaceTiming, and you both falling asleep, you know, to the FaceTime. And
Yeah.
you know, I remember writing her a letter because I just felt this so strongly in my spirit that she's the one. Like I can't explain it honestly. It's just different because again, I just turned my life over to the care of God. I just, okay, God, I surrender. Have do with me as you will. You know, okay, point me in the right direction of this girl, you know, or whatever, what career you want me to go in. And then so and then what I did was I still have it somewhere. It's somewhere I got it. But I wrote her a letter. We never physically met yet, but I wrote her this long letter, and I read it at our wedding actually. Basically, I'm basically Jacob. I'm prophesying what's going to happen. That's basically what's going on in this letter.
Come
Like I
on.
was just so confident in it. I had no doubts, no nothing. My relationship with God was solid. My obedience to God was 100%. And obedience brings the blessing. And I knew that. I'm like, here we go, you know. And so um, I finally go out on a date in Redondo Beach. Um, and then, you know, we spend the whole day, the morning, the whole day, and the whole night and not the whole night, but we had dinner at night. And I gave her the letter, and then, you know, I asked her if she wants to be my girlfriend, basically. And,
Yeah.
she said, yeah, she said yes, you know. And then uh, we just, you know, just God just continued to work in her lives, you know. She grew up Catholic. She wasn't a Christian when I met her. She's a Christian today. And it's not because I'm a Christian. She became a Christian. We were evenly yoked, you know, we weren't unevenly matched. Um, and so we started to do like our like she watched a lot of Joyce Meyer, man. I love Joyce Meyer. I mean,
Yeah.
we got a few of her books, you know, and she started to grow spiritually. You know, the Bible talks. We weren't married then, but the Bible talks about, you know, the husband and the wife, the different roles, and then the wife is the helper, and how, you know, back in the Garden of Eden, you know, when Adam and Eve ate the fruit from the tree. But the funny thing is that although Eve ate the fruit first, God went straight to Adam. He skipped right over Eve. Hey, bro, I hold you accountable. You're the man. You're so I am my wife's example. I learned from Pastor Ron Carpenter. He says, look, if there's something broken in you, there's something broken in her. And it's not if there's something broken in a male, it's something broken in a female. No, talking about married couples. The Bible talks about how I should present her to God without no blemish or wrinkle. I am her example. Learning how to not be in control just totally just changed my whole entire life. It was unbelievable experience. And I continue to live my life like that to the best of my ability. Like there's some days where it's not always good. I'll tell Jesus, hey, bro, yeah, I'll drive today. It's good. I got it. And then, things don't go my way. I swerve off the road. Oh, okay, wait, I'm sorry. Let me get back in the passenger seat, But I can actually do that today. I wasn't capable of doing that, prior to getting sober, honestly. But, like, oh, were you going to say something, bro?
Oh no, you're good. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
I was, but I wanted you to finish. I don't want to cut you off.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah.
more recently, people have asked me, can anybody recover? Can anybody recover from drugs and alcohol?
Yeah.
Specifically in a 12-step program. That's the question. And absolutely, I'm 100% convinced anybody on the planet that struggles with drugs and alcohol gets into a 12-step program and they do what's suggested and they follow directions. It is impossible for your life not to change. Literally, it's impossible. That's like saying the sun will never rise and set. Like literally. And it just, again, it goes back to, well, if it doesn't happen for certain people, it's because maybe it'll come down to a lack of honesty, a lack of willingness, and a lack of an open mind. It really boils back down to these things, because being very selfish, self-centered, self-seeking, self-reliant, it becomes all about me, and my mind is so closed, and a closed mind is already defeated. So I'm not open to suggesting no. It's like, I want to get sober. I want my life to change, but I want to do it my way. I don't want to do it your way. I want to do it my way, though. It's like,
Yeah.
but it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Holding on to something does more damage than letting go, honestly.
Yeah. That's good, man. Really good. I like the part when you were talking about, what did you say? A chemical solution for a spiritual problem. Was that the
Yes.
verbiage that you
Yeah,
used?
there's no
And
chemical solution to a spiritual problem.
yeah, and I love
Mhm.
that, and it's so true, and it seems like basic, like duh, that wouldn't work. But how many times? So for you and I, it was drugs and alcohol and whatever. For other people, if you're listening, by the way, if y'all have any questions for he or myself, y'all go ahead and shout them out. We'd love to hear from y'all. If y'all have anything, mental health, addiction, marriage, whatever you got. If it's marriage stuff, I'm deferring to you because you got more years.
Yeah.
But but I love that because what you're talking about is you're reaching for things in the physical and trying to fill a spiritual void.
Hmm.
And what happens, I was talking to somebody about this last night, is we continue to reach for the physical, but the things in the physical that we have to reach for us, it was drugs and alcohol. For other people, it may be another promotion, right? It
Yep.
could be more money. It could be another relationship to make you
Hmm.
feel better and full and whole. It could be
Yep.
food, whatever you're reaching for. It could be binging out on Netflix, social media.
Yeah.
Everybody has things that they reach for when they're feeling kind of lonely or anxious or depressed, whatever it is. And so we reach for these things, and at the root of them is a spiritual issue, and we're trying to, in the moment, make ourselves feel better. But what it does is it widens this void, and we have to get more and more of the thing that we're reaching for. And you and I, in our case, it was drugs or alcohol,
Hmm.
and we had to get more and more. And it became less satisfying the more that we reached for it. And in the end, when those things wore off, whether it's for you, if it's money, if it's, for you and I, drugs and alcohol, whatever it is, when those things wore off, what happened is we're more depressed, we're more anxious, we're more just spiritually bankrupt, we're more selfish, we're more self-seeking in the end, and incapable of serving others. And I think that's the whole thing behind addiction that's so insidious and tough for the family members too, man, is that you know, when we're going through these things, we are incapable of putting, you know, we love our family members as much as we can, as much as possible through those times, but we're incapable of putting our family members over our fix. You know, if withdrawals are setting in, you know, opiate withdrawals are setting in, benzo withdrawals are setting in, I can't honestly say at that time in my life that I was going to put the love of my family over that feeling. It's, no, I do love my family, but let me go get this first so I can stop hurting, so I can stop the pain and suffering, and then I'll come back. And it's this crazy, you know, insane thing. That thing that you're reaching for to fix you is bringing you further and further down the rabbit hole. But that was a great thing to bring up, man. And that's true of not only people in addiction and recovery, but just people in general when they're trying to soothe the pain or hurt in whatever form it is, reaching for something physical to soothe that spiritual. But, you know, one thing that I wanted to ask you is in your early recovery, so, you know, year one in your recovery, what are some things that you did that kind of moved the needle, so to speak, that actually propelled you forward? Whether it was anything from a workout routine to a prayer routine to meditation to, you know, writing things down or journaling. What things for you, like early on, really kind of propelled you further into this, you know, as you alluded to the Romans 12:2 thing of like the transformation of your mind, and we'll do body and spirit as well.
Okay. Well, early on for me, I was living at my sister's house. When I got into the rooms, I was there for maybe a month. Then I found the sober living. I went to the sober living. But early on, I was like, man, I don't want to, like, I don't want to do this anymore, because the thing I didn't mention was I kept this addiction of mine a secret. Like my parents didn't know. My brother and my sister been living out here. Some of my family knew back home in Hawaii, but not to the extent of really, I'm like tweaking out by myself for days, you know, kind of thing. Some of my cousins knew that about me because I was doing it with them, you know. But early on, I was deathly afraid of having money, because if I got money, I can go buy dope, I can go buy alcohol. And what helped me was what I did. I would walk to meetings from my sister's house. I would walk down there. I mean, because I've gone to so many different lengths to get the drug, you know, drive around the whole island, you know, for the guy to tell me, oh, well, oh, you don't have money, I'm not gonna front you, bro. What? You know, and then we gotta just keep drinking now and stuff. But so what I did was I found, like, in between meetings, like I'll go to meetings all the time. See, what they suggest is, hey, do 90 meetings in 90 days. I mean, I did 90 meetings in like 1 month. You know what I mean? Like it was a Valley Alano Club over here in Rancho Cucamonga. And
over here in where?
I would go,
Over here in where?
It's called Rancho Cucamonga.
Can I say that? Rancho Cucamonga?
Rancho Cucamonga.
Rancho Cucamonga.
Yeah. That's where I live now, actually. We live in Rancho now. Yeah. But so I started going to meetings all the time. Like they had meetings all day, like all kind of times to the evening. So I would almost practically live there, and I started to make friends. And then so at a certain point, I would catch a ride. People would come pick me up and drop me off at home. But then when there was times where nobody can get me, I would have to walk. And then I got a skateboard. Okay, I'll go skateboard down there. And that's part of doing the work, like I was talking about. You know, because I went to any lengths to go get it. Like I'm gonna do the same amount of energy in a different direction, though. Really, you know. And then so in between meetings, what I did. This is just what I did. I went on Netflix and I look for I love to watch movies. I'm like a movie buff. So what I did was find a TV show that had the most seasons to keep my mind occupied. So, if I get bored or something, I have a book I could read and stuff. I had a few books, but I can only do so much reading. So I'm like, so I started watching like a show on Netflix. Um, and then when it's over, okay, go to the meeting. And then once I started, getting into the sober living, and I'm still, fairly new. I got like 60 days, 90 days, 6 months. I got very much involved with everything. I immersed myself into this program. Like, oh, we got a camping event. Bam, I'm there. We're going bowling. Boom, I'm there. We got this event going on. Boom, I'm there. I've been to all of them. I had commitments in meetings, commitments at the area level. And they always would say stuff like, just stay in the middle of the herd, because when you're in the middle of the herd, it's hard to get when you're out here. You can get picked off real easy. So I just honestly did things like that, things that was suggested to me, and on top of that, I learned how to go camping sober, how to go bowling sober, how to do
Yeah.
things in a sober state of
Life.
mind with nothing altering it. It was awesome.
Yeah. And I know I had that same thing where I started to do things sober, because literally everything I did, especially if it was around people, there was something in my system, And if there
Yeah.
wasn't, I probably made an excuse not to go to it. And, I think about, what you're saying too, and I'm thinking about the first year in my recovery. And I think it's so important for people to get fully immersed in recovery.
Mhm.
Just throw yourself into service work, hanging out with those people, and stuff like that, and whatever that is for you, to really immerse yourself in doing that. I remember we were like all the time, had people over at our house, like you're talking about, going bowling,
Yeah.
going camping, going to movies, doing things, all together as a crew. And then what it does is early on, unknowingly, you're starting to forge these really healthy connections with
Mhm.
people. And then the ones that are the healthiest, they'll last for a long time. I still have, several people that I talked to actually that I was in rehab with about 4.5 years ago. And that's amazing. It's amazing that still, we're all, several of us are still sober today, and that we're still continuing to talk to one another. And, another thing that I remember doing was every morning, I was, well, I guess about 2 weeks when I was in FRC, the rehab that I went to, about 2 weeks had passed by, and I remember like kind of working through the steps and working on these things, and I was about to start making amends to people and stuff like that, and I had this epiphany, and this was, people say that they have like a white light moment when they work
Mhm.
through the steps, or that God just like rushes into their life, and they turn the corner from drugs and alcohol and walk into this new way of living. For some people, it kind of is gradual, like a trickle. For some people, it's like a Mack truck. God just
Yeah.
smacks you in the face, lovingly smacks you in the face. And for me, what it was is I realized, like it dawned on me after about 2 weeks, that every morning I had gotten up and I got down on my knees, and amongst a couple other things, the one similar strand in each prayer was, God, grant me an opportunity to help somebody today.
Absolutely.
And at its core, that was God working on my heart and shifting me out of this me mentality, and how can I
Mhm.
now be of service to others. But that one simple thing of saying that one simple prayer every single morning, and it was life changing. And God often showed up doing that, because I've mentioned this before, the time where I feel most alive or the most vibrant is when I'm able to truly help somebody, and somebody that's been in addiction for years, the light comes back on in their eyes, or
Mhm.
being able to talk to a family member or something like that, and really being in that position to help. And I can only explain it like it's hitting the golf ball in the sweet spot, or hitting like a baseball in the sweet spot, and just that thing where it's like, it feels right to do that, to be of service, and to see it, start to bear fruit. It's so amazing. But it all stems, like we were talking about, the simple things that move the needle, so to speak. from that one simple thing of saying that prayer in the morning, God, grant me an opportunity to help somebody today. And that's a prayer that actually I said this morning too. I mean, I still continue to say that as much as I can on a daily basis.
That's awesome, bro. That's real good. Cause like for me, oh sorry, something in my eye.
You're good.
Like I can relate to what you're saying, and I've been around. I've been sober almost 4 years. I've been around for a little while. Not very long, but like it feels like for a long time because, I mean, I can remember everything I did the day before for the last, what is it, 1,373 days. That wasn't the case before. you know. But I forgot you said something, but I didn't want to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Um,
no, you're good. And I was just
um,
talking about, I don't know if you had any other habits too. Like I know you were
oh,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah,
throwing yourself
yeah,
into, did I just
yeah, yeah,
click
yeah.
something in your
I
brain?
remember. I remember now. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, because you're talking about like that prayer, man. See, and I think it's so crucial for somebody early on in recovery to have a commitment and be of service to other people. Because however many years, like for me, for 20 years, I was serving myself, you know.
Yeah.
So the opposite of that is to serve others, that servant leader, whether it could be anything. There's tons of commitments. You can be a secretary, you've got area commitments, you can be a greeter, make coffee, whatever in the meetings. But like in and out of the meetings, I was taught that, being of
Yeah.
service like to people in the sober living. I mean, and it doesn't, being of service is not based upon what, thank you back from you, to me. No, no, no. It's not what it's about. It's just about being of service, because this disease stems from me being selfish, self-centered. So, like, when it's suggested, like, oh man, you feel like you're gonna drink or use, go call your sponsor or call somebody in the program, call one of your friends. And I found that, how that works is like, okay, I want to drink. Let me call Jacob. I'll call Jacob. By the end of the conversation, we both feel great because what I did was I took the focus off of me and my feelings, how I feel, and I put it on you to go be of service to you. Hey, bro, how's it going? What are you doing? And then, oh, I'm not having a good day. Then you ended up encouraging that person, and you get encouraged. You guys both was like, on cloud nine when you hang up the phone, and everything's all good again. But it's great though. And
Yeah, that simple thing, what you're talking about is, and I know you're talking about honesty, openness, and willingness. The willingness to reach out to people, that's a
yeah,
big thing.
uh,
And whether, I know we obviously on these live streams, we're talking, a lot about our personal backgrounds and an addiction. That's the main thing. We want to raise awareness and hope and inspiration for issues around addiction. But I never want anybody that's outside of addiction to think that they can't pull anything from these talks, So if you're
mhm,
struggling with suicidal thoughts,
mhm,
depression, anxiety, that principle applies to pick up the phone. It doesn't only work for somebody in addiction to pick up the phone and say, hey, I need some
mhm.
help. Talk me through this. Dude, that's husbands, that's wives, that's people, again, with anxiety, that's pastors, that's CEO. It doesn't matter who it is. When you're going through a rough patch, you need to lay down your pride and pick up the phone. It's a lot lighter, to the phone than your pride. It's a lot
Yeah.
lighter than to make that call, man. And then you get that experience like you were just explaining, and it's so awesome. So awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I just came across something on my desk, um, that it's so, when I heard this, I was like, man, that is exactly what my cognition and my mindset was like. And actually, I got this from Joyce Meyer, so I'm gonna read this real quick.
Yeah,
The title of she titled this "How to Have a Miserable Life." So it says, think about yourself constantly. I mean, you do that, you guarantee will have a miserable life. You just do that one.
yeah,
You'll be fine. Use the word I as much as possible. Mirror yourself continually by the opinion of other people. Listen to what people say about you, and if you don't agree, get angry. Expect to be appreciated by everyone. Be suspicious, be jealous, be envious, be sensitive and easily offended. Never forgive a criticism. Trust nobody but yourself. Insist on consideration and respect at all times. Demand agreement on your own views on everything. So feel sorry for yourself. If people are not grateful for what you do for them, never forget how much you've done for other people and think about it at all times. But always remember what they have failed to do for you. Seek at all times to entertain yourself and do as little as possible for other people. That literally was like drugs and alcohol or not. That's how my thinking was. So like you're right, man. Speaking to people who's never touched a drug, who is not an alcoholic, like these things that we're talking about today, it doesn't confine to the box of addict or alcoholic. It's like if you're a human being, you can relate to this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That's great, man. I'm glad you brought that up, dude, and it's been amazing catching up with you. I truly appreciate you coming on, man. And if y'all want to find Alika, y'all can find him on Instagram at Alika Gamble, and then also you can find him at pro_recovery_power, right?
Yes.
Did I get that right?
Yes.
Pro Recovery Power on Facebook, and then also on Instagram and also on Facebook, his name, Alika Gamble.
Yeah.
But man, is there anything before you hop off? We're doing sustainable principles, sustainable habits. Is there one little nugget that you want to share with people, something that you want to encourage them, or really anything before you hop off you just want to share with the people?
Okay, sure. So this will be pertaining to alcoholic, non-alcoholic, addict. If you're a human being, I'm going to say this to you now. If it's something that you're struggling with, or depression, you mentioned suicide. I mean, that's a big one. That's a huge one. I thought of committing suicide tons of times. I acted on it a few times, but I chickened out basically. So, if there's something that you want in your life, something different, I would suggest that you take massive action. We can overthink these things to death looking for clarity, but clarity comes from engagement, not thought. So that's what I would leave you guys with.
Okay.
If you want something, take massive action.
Come on, I love it, man. We're all about that, talking about it. You don't want the analysis paralysis. You want to go after it and get it done.
That's right.
Well, Alika, man, again, thank you so much for joining us, man. We're going to have to do it again in the future.
Definitely. Thank you so much, brother.
All right, man. I'll have you soon. Bye. All right. Again, that was Alika Gamble. That was amazing. I'm going to have to go back and listen to that again. That was awesome. I hope y'all enjoyed it. And if y'all missed any of the past ones, you can go to thesustainlife.com and check them out there. And you can also go to the Instagram page. They should be on the Instagram TV series. But guys, we do this every week, Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. We hope to see y'all then.